And we're live. Yay, live from my bed. And I don't know where you are, but this is cozy. Very cozy.
Yeah, that bed looks good. The headboard.
Yeah. It's a like a wedge thing, so you
Yeah.
can like sit up and lean on it and whatnot. So yeah, I've been horizontal pretty much all day. So this is what I need to do.
Don't change
Um,
it.
so happy Kwanzaa. We'll
Same
just
to you.
wait for people to come in. It kind of takes a second for that to happen.
Okay.
And I am going to just pull up, which I wanted to do uh,
Oh,
first. I want to pull up the definition for today's principle so that I can read it because I don't actually know them. I don't know the definitions off by heart. Okay, but
I know it's collective work and
oh yeah,
responsibility.
yeah,
Yeah.
collective work and responsibility. But the Nguzo Saba has a Swahili principle, the English principle, and then it has a short sentence for each of them. I
Okay.
don't always remember what they are. So
Okay.
as people are coming in, welcome to the third day of the Cozy Kwanzaa Reflectathon live shows. My name is Sherri. I am here with Bree, the Loc'd Booktician. As you know, what we've been doing this year, which we've been doing for the first time this year, is that we're inviting, me being like me, I've been inviting content creators to join me to just hang out for 1 hour to talk about Kwanzaa, the Kwanzaa principle of the day. And of course, since we're all bookish for the most part, content creators, which book or books we've read this year reflect the principles. So that's what we're going to be doing. Just as an announcement, there's also a giveaway. So if you want to be eligible for the giveaway, then what you need to do is film a video, be subscribed to my channel, and enter the hashtag Kwanzaa Reflectathon. Your name will be entered into the draw, and the prize for the draw is a reading planner from Brittany of Melanin Eclectic. So today's principle is actually, if not my favorite, one of my favorites. It's Ujima, collective work and responsibility. And I'm going to read the prompt visualization statement. To build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and solve them together. And the reason why I was really interested in having you be the guest today, Bree, was because I think like in the short period that you've been on BookTube, like have you been on BookTube for a year yet?
I just hit a year. Yeah.
Just a year. Okay.
Recently. Mm-hmm.
So also happy birthday. Happy 1 year on BookTube. But just being on BookTube for a relatively short period of time, you've done a lot. Like this year, and in particular, I'm thinking about I called it Blackoween. I don't know if you called it the Blackoween-a-thon, but I
Oh,
was
I
just
told you it was exchangeable. Like,
yeah.
okay, it's fine. Yeah.
And I just feel like Blackoween was, even though you were the head of it and originated it, created it, and created all the prompts and everything, it was very much a very collective experience. And also you do a lot of live shows on your own channel, and also you join others in a lot of lives. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you also, did you interview Alexis Henderson for the Year of the
Oh,
Witch? Did
no, that was
but
Saging.
you interviewed someone recent, an author,
Oh yeah, Leah Johnson.
Alea Johnson. Okay, who
Hmm.
did the Summer Prince? Was that at least Alea Dawn Johnson, right?
Yeah, Leah Don Johnson.
I didn't read the book that she was. No, I knew it was you. I just wasn't sure
Yeah.
what the author was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like the way that you have engaged in BookTube has very much been in a very supportive, community-oriented kind of way. And so
Hmm.
I really wanted to hear your thoughts on that. So thank you for being the guest today.
Oh, anytime.
So let's just start with Kwanzaa. Do you you celebrate Kwanzaa, or is it sort of new for you?
It's new for me, I will
Mhm.
say. It's not my first time hearing about it. I heard about Kwanzaa in grade school, and also my grandma has spoken about it, but it's not something that's celebrated in
Mhm.
my family.
Yeah. And so what does Ujima mean to you as a principal? Like when I asked you if you would be the guest for this principal, like and you looked at the principal and reflected on it, what are the things that stand out for you?
So I kept thinking about collective work and responsibility, and I took it very literal. So I will say that. So I was thinking about Black authors specifically,
Okay.
and I was thinking about work that um, really responds to our collective responsibility, either work that we're doing or work that we're receiving. So it made me think about a couple books that really lends a hand to that collective responsibility kind of realm. So one of the books I thought about was The Deep, um, by River Solomon and a slew of other great writers that I cannot think of right now. I apologize for that.
You're fine.
And Twisted. That book was about Black hair by Emma DeBerry or something like that. And then a book I'm currently reading, A Promised Land by Barack Obama. So for me, that felt experiences that Black people around the diaspora can relate to, not in like a monolithic way, but can relate to in a cultural way. So that's what it meant to me. And that's how I took it.
Yeah. And do you want to talk about each of those books individually? Because I'm really curious about what element in particular the deep, because that's sort of my that's like as soon as you said it, I was like, okay, good. Let's talk about River Solomon. Let's talk about the deep. Let's talk about mermaids. Let's talk
Yes.
about Wenjiru. Let's talk about like all the things. So
All the things.
are
Yeah. I
you
can
are
talk
you
about them individually.
sure? I would love
Yeah.
that.
Me and my notes. So for me, when I was thinking about collectively, I went right to one genre, right? Being the historian in the deep and really keeping everyone's stories. And it's not just like recent stories, it's like stories of the past, like
Mhm.
collectively. So it made me think of gatekeepers of our stories. And I like to believe that throughout the diaspora as African people, African descendants, our cultures are very oral. It's passed down, from generation to generation. But in the deep, it was like, no, only the historian has access to that.
Yeah.
So it made me view her in a way as a gatekeeper. And it's like, what are the responsibilities of gatekeepers of culture?
Mhm.
And are we thinking reflectively how their mental, spiritual, physical health is being impacted by them having this responsibility of the collective? So
Mhm.
that's what made me think of in that book.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely like I read The Deep as well, and the the burden of holding memory, right? Like memory being painful even.
Yeah.
Um and the burden of holding it, the weight and even that, like I feel as though in that story there is a tension between individual responsibility and collective responsibility, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and that I feel like that was something that needed to actually get resolved in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just kept thinking about like um the when John Rue in like Yeti, I think that was the main character name. I probably
I
said
think
when
so.
John Rue was her name, but I think Yeti was her
Yes, yeah.
name.
Yeah, too.
Um,
Yeah, too.
yeah, too. There we
Yeah.
go. I'm like, where did I get Yeti? Isn't that a cup or something? I don't know. But
I think it's a Sasquatch or an abominable Yeti. Now I'm gonna have to look at it.
oh, yeah, I was thinking of like the cup, the company that sells those really good like insulated cups. But
Okay.
mhm. Yeah, so
I know what
yeah,
you're talking about.
so I was just thinking about Yetu and like her position in the world and what that looks like and the responsibility that she had for a collective and the pain and just a bunch of stuff. So,
and then Twisted.
so Twisted, I was thinking of like the author discussing her journey of her hair in relation to being Irish and also Ghanaian, I think was her ancestry. Um, and I was thinking about the different things of how she talked about what Black women in America discussed to her about hair, and how she thought about Black hair on a global scale, while also I'm telling you from my perspective of being like Irish and also Ghanaian. So she said a bunch of things that I think, again, throughout the diaspora, that a lot of us can relate to. She talked about, I wrote it down here. Oh yeah, she talked about how Black hair is now being prophesized in a different way, and what that looks like, and how pop culture is trying to take it over and be like, oh, we created this, but not understanding that. And she talked about the religious aspect of hair, and it just made me think about just my own culture and my own responsibility, because in my culture, I have the responsibility to kind of pass those things about hair to the next generation. So, for example, like I have a bunch of nieces, like 10 of them, I think. And
I have 0 nieces.
I have lots. Oh my God. I have 18 now, nieces and nephews, and one great niece who was just born like 3 weeks ago. She's so cute. She's so cute. But I was thinking about, like, I tell my niece, you got to be careful who you let do your hair. Some bad juju, some bad spirits, some people getting into your hair. So it's just about that passing on, and like me thinking about my responsibility of teaching the teachings that I was taught about Black hair and passing it on to my nieces. Yeah.
And you said you're also reading Barack Obama.
Yeah, A Promised Land.
Have you read any of his earlier work?
No, this is my first one.
Okay. And how does that represent collective work and responsibility? I mean, like that sort of was a theme for him, continues to be a theme for him.
Yeah, agreed. I think also with Barack Obama, I think the reason why I chose it was mainly for collective work, and then separately for responsibility, because I think some parts of the book really aim at that collective work, because he takes you through a journey of his political career, and like moves he made, moves he didn't make, sacrifices he made within his marriage, and also with his daughters, to really be the kind of politician that the people who voted for him wanted him to be. So he like talks about those things. And then he also, it's a big theme of him talking about his responsibility as a father and as a partner. And like when he felt that he let himself down, or let his daughters down, or let Michelle down, and the compromises that they had to make for each other, and just so many different things. And I haven't finished the book, but that is just, I just thought all together and he was a president. So it's like, okay. So it's just a lot.
And then just looking at, so we're going to get to some of the comments, because I know that we have a number of people saying hi to each other in the chats.
Okay.
So if the 11 of you who are in the chats, my question for you is, what book or books have you read in 2020 that reflect the concept of Ujima? I just want to talk a little bit about the aspects of Ujima that I think are really poignant, that also connect to some of the things that you were talking about, Bree. So to build and maintain our community. So even just to break it down, to build, that means to me that, whatever we see our communities to be. So for me, my community includes the Black queer communities. And I have a number of other communities that intersect and conflict with that community as well. But the idea of building community means that you're not just in it passively. You're not just receiving community. You're actually using your tools so that the communities that you're a part of are greater or more after you're done with them, right? Yeah. So you are there to contribute. You're not just there to receive. Mm-hmm. So to build and then to maintain, maintaining for me means like holding space. So you're not destroying or taking away from anything, but you are contributing to the community so that the community can continue to do its work, which is to support interdependence and to heal or engage in emancipation or whatever it is. So to build and maintain the community together. So it's not an individual exercise, right? So whether you are the president, whether you are the historian of the Wajinru, you are supposed to be doing this with others, among others. It's not just one person. And we see the challenge that can sometimes occur when there only is one person. And to make our brothers and sisters problems. And just to say brothers and sisters, that's an example of the work that we still need to do, because this is gender binary language. And so it really is about our siblings, right? Our family members' problems, our problems. And I was reflecting on that today because in order for us to achieve Ujima, my view is that somebody who's part of my community, but who's very different from me, and whether that's the global community, the Black queer community, whatever, that person's problems have to be my problems. And I feel like that's a very simple thing, but it's actually an incredibly profound statement, right? That your problems are my problems. I own your problems. I attend to your problems the way I attend to my own. And I think if we're being really honest with ourselves, most people don't do that. We are, myself included, I tend to the problems most similar to my own, most recognizable to my own, but not necessarily all of the problems. And I'm not sure that it's even healthy to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So whose problems should I own, should I tend to? And I think
the question.
Yeah. And I think like in the deep, which is so profound that you chose that book, in the deep, there is a relationship, without spoiling it, not among the Wajinru, but when Yetu leaves, Yetu engages with other species. And some of those species make Yetu's problems their problems. And some do not, right? And we see what happens in both of those circumstances, right? So it's not only to make our family's problems our problems, but to solve them together. So then we're engaged in a joint enterprise in order to heal, to become free, to build and to create. And so again, it's not about having a savior mentality, and it's not about using help as a way to wield power over someone else, but it is to collectively find ways to solve things, right? For the purpose of, just being a better place, And so I think people have mixed views on whether Barack Obama was able to accomplish that. And I would argue that, and I'm critical of his leadership as well, but I think that democracy as a concept is not a collective like political way of organizing a community, right? Because it does require hierarchy, and it does lend itself to despotism, as we see in your country, as we see in ours, in mine, in different ways, but similar ways as well. So when I think of Ujima, that's what I think of. And even BookTube, right? Like I think of BookTube as a place where we can behave collectively, but the algorithm encourages us not to, right? The algorithm encourages us to be
dropping these bombs.
Competitive. So with that, let's see what our collective has to say. So I'm going to just get some comments in here. So, hello, Michelle. Welcome. You're here day 3. Nice to see you. Hi, Emery. Good to see you.
Hello.
Michelle again. Yes, saying hi to each other. Okay. And Twisted has been on your list, Emery, for a while, so that's good. Maybe you guys can connect once you've read it. You're late for a very important date. I know the reference. Give me some Alice in Wonderland, White Rabbit activity. Hi, Tati, always on time. Twisted. So yeah, looks like a lot of people either want to read it or have read it. Hi, Ashley. So Daughters of Jubilation. So I haven't read that, but it is on my list, and I'm curious. It's a 2021.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay.
I think it should get more hype. I don't think that I'm the great person to talk about it right now because I have this terrible habit where when I get into a book and then I'm like, oh my God, this book is so good. I can't finish it. It takes me a very long time to finish it. I can't commit to it. So I think I'm like 80% through. And I just cannot do it. That's how I am right now with Wild Seed. Wild Seed is sitting here and I just cannot finish the last 50 pages. It's not good, but it's where I'm at.
Are you with us for the slow read, the Octavia?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, finish it because there's one right after. Like the good news is it's not the end of the series.
I know, but yeah.
I'll help you. I'll help you. Ashley, curious about why Daughters of Jubilation for you represents Ujima. Girls Like Us. Hi, T. Anderson. Again, same question. Why would you say that Girls Like Us would represent Ujima?
I wonder if it's the root magic in Daughters of Jubilation. There's like ancestral magic in it and like that connectivity to the main character. So I'm wondering if that is where.
Yeah, can we just talk about that a little bit about in my spiritual practice, ancestor reverence is something I'm required to do. And for me, there's a spiritual / magical element to that. But then there's also very mundane, like knowing, ancestry, like genealogical research, family tree, getting resources and remembering things and stuff like that. And the idea of like spiritual inheritance, like being the continuation of what your ancestors started or were themselves the continuation of, that's an important concept. And I know that Tati has put out her video today, and that remembrance was her choice for Ujima for similar reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there are lots of really interesting stories that involve our relationship to the ancestors and the responsibility that forebears, or that people who have come after, hold for those who came before.
Yeah, which I think is powerful. Like yesterday, I was talking to a friend about why I feel called to a certain thing that I'm working on. And I was like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And she was like, have you asked your ancestors? Which made me put out like a plate today and like me, communing and asking questions and trying to seek that guidance. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so much to talk about there.
So much. So I was like, let's end it there.
Hi, Stacey. Yeah, Sister Outsider for sure. By Audre Lorde. Yeah, I feel like the uses of anger is an essay, I think, out of Sister Outsider.
Yes,
Isn't
it
it?
is. It is. Yeah, it's right after her talking about her son.
Yes.
I just read it. That's the only reason why I know.
I am still incredibly impressed. Do you want to talk about the uses of anger at all?
Yes, I got notes. So give me a chance. I'm gonna come to my me and my notes.
Notes for everything. I love it. While you look for your notes,
Okay.
I read it years ago, but what I loved about the uses of anger, and how that connects to collective work and responsibility is that it's one thing to vent, but anger can be a gateway to creativity, and as a fire energy, and as a fire like force, right?
Why are you using my quote? I was about to say it. So good.
No, you say it.
No, it's so good. But so I'm like, I even put it in sections. So the use of anger, right? She says, the use of use anger for fire, laughter, and protection. And I never thought about using it for protection. Like, and it was just, and she said, I'm a Black and lesbian. What you hear in my voice is fury and not moral authority. There is a difference. I said, God damn. Like, it was so good. And then she said, I am not free as long as any person of color remains shackled, and neither are you, which is exactly what we're talking about here. So I was just like, oh my God, it's so good. It's not my anger that causes global violence on human beings.
Yep.
Enough said. I mean, I have more quotes, but still.
Read them. We've got about 35 minutes.
Another thing is she said, she discussed that we are not goddesses of matriarchs. We are women forced back on our women power. And it made me think like critically of pop culture use of the word queen. So it just, I don't know, it just made me like get into reflection on that of like,
Speak on that.
It's just like how we just fashion it upon, you know, Black and brown people, like, you know, you are a queen and you are this and you are that. And I just think about the ramifications of putting that on a person and what that looks like. Because I have friends who are Black women who are like, I don't like that title. Don't put that on me. Like, you have no right to put that on me. And some people, you know, step unapologetically and fiercely in that. So the whole book, I think, really touches on womanhood and what it looks like for her and for other people. She talked about also about guilt, saying in that chapter, saying guilt is another form of objectification. And I would have never pieced that together like that. So, whew, yeah. Then after that, she talked about MLK.
F.
Huh?
Thank you, Stacey F, for bringing that into the room.
Mm-hmm.
Home by Toni Morrison. I haven't read a lot of Toni Morrison. I've only read two things, Tar Baby and Sula.
Yeah, I read Sula and Jazz, I think.
Yeah, okay. So T. Anderson, tell us a little bit more about why home feels like Ujima to you.
Mm-hmm.
Another River Solomon contribution, and Unkindness of Ghosts. Yes. So first of all, hello, Sarah. Nice to see you.
Hey, Sarah.
And yes, did you read An Unkindness of Ghosts?
Nope, it's on my TBR, but I also feel like I need to read that book with someone else. Huh?
Okay. I'm getting all of my videos mixed up, but I feel like I saw a video of somebody recently where they said that they had Unkindness of Ghosts, but they're not ready to read it, or they're not sure they're going to read it. But I don't know if that was probably not you, because you just said you are going to read it. You just need to find somebody to read it with. An Unkindness of Ghosts is a stunning book, but everything that comes out, well, I shouldn't put all that pressure on River Solomon, but like everything that I've read from River Solomon has been profound. That's just fact.
Profound. Yeah.
And I definitely see An Unkindness of Ghosts as an example of collective work and responsibility. I mean, the way that the generationship is set up is quite the opposite of collective work and responsibility. It's indentured and enslaved work for the purpose of the the needs of the very few. But the goal that Aster has is very much related to emancipation, and requires activity that will help break the system effectively. And I think in order for anybody, like you can't end a system on your own, right? Like you need people located in different places to marshal their own resources, talents, skills, and energy in order to do that. So
yeah. I have another book that I didn't realize, I didn't underline it, but it's right here.
Yeah.
And I just want to share my notes.
Yes.
Me and my notes. So another book that I thought went along with Ujima is Me, You, and White Supremacy. Have you read that?
No, I don't, no. Short answer, no.
Okay.
Talk about it.
So Me, You, and White Supremacy, it just made me feel when I was reading that book, and I think I read it twice. I read it when I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and then I also read it this year, a part of my friend's blog. And it just made me really think about, because constantly in the book, it's the theme of like, we have to do this together. Like, we have to think reflectively and do this together. We need to be better human beings to each other, basically, is what I kept getting a common theme. So it goes through, let me see, 28 weeks of like reflective prompts. So I'm just going to say what the prompts are. The first day, or not 26 days, sorry, not weeks. So day 1 is you and white privilege, you and white fragility, you and tone policing, you and white silence, you, white superiority, you and white exceptionalism, and you and colorblindness, you and anti-blackness and anti-black women, you and anti-blackness and anti-black and against black women, you and racist stereotypes, you and cultural appropriation, and then you and white apathy, you and white centering, you and white tokenism, you and white saviors, you and optical allyship, you on being called out or called in, and you and white feminism, you and white leaders, you and your friends, you and your family, you and your values, you and losing privilege, you and your commitments. So it just made me think of, if you went through all the prompts, it just really gets you to think outside of yourself, but also in yourself in a way, but trying to get you to think of your actions and your values and the things that you've done and how you can just be a better global citizen.
And who's the audience for that book?
So I go back and forth.
White people?
So I go back and forth. So it says the author, I think, is saying that the audience is for non-BIPOC. But then while reading it, I felt that there was like Black people experience and, how do I say this? Black people experience anti-Blackness as well. So I just felt like there were things on there that we can also reflect on.
Got you. Okay. Thank you for that. So just going on to see other books that people have mentioned that reflect Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ashley says Just Mercy.
Agreed.
For sure, book and movie.
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, well, you could.
Yeah, I just read the book.
These Ghosts Are Family by Macy Card.
Heard of that.
Yeah. You wanna talk a little bit about that, Emery? I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. I feel like I have it though. Yeah. I think I definitely do. Yes. So yeah, Emery, you want to talk about that? Caleb, hello, welcome back. Pet by Akoyake Mezi, which is interesting because it's a world where everything is supposed to be safe and perfect. Yes, I think Pet is a wonderful example of collective work and responsibility, especially toward the end of the story. So 100%.
I need to get on that.
You really do.
I really do. It's the only book by them that I haven't read.
I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
In fact, can you please read it and then review it? Because I need.
I have a physical copy. My friend bought it for me. I just haven't.
It's okay.
I need to be better. I just need to be better. That's really what it is. I'm gonna just write it down here.
Yeah. So you were saying instead of saying our people. So I earlier I was talking about the definition of Ujima, and I referred to the reference to our brothers and sisters. And I said maybe our siblings, and then Tati says our people, not siblings, because it's talking about siblinghood as connection through heritage. So you're right. So our people. Noted. Agreed. The recommendations are good. Good. Glad. If you don't finish Wild Seed tonight, Bree, if you don't finish Wild Seed tonight.
Listen, I know someone is doing sprints tonight. They do sprints every day. I'm going to jump on a sprint and I'm going to finish it.
Yeah. And then you'll report back.
Yep. I'll slide in DMs.
Perfect. So this is collective work and responsibility right here. Who wrote Twisted? Oh, it's already been answered. Emma DeBarry.
Yeah. Why did I say DeBarry? Oh, Summer of Everything. I just saw that.
The ancestral magic that specifically came to mind. So that was the reference that, yeah, to
Daughters of Jubilation.
Right. Okay. Okay, so you are answering the question. You first thought of Girls Like Us because of the importance of the home to the girls and the found family aspect, which was very important. Okay. Great.
Who's the author of Girls Like Us? Do we know?
I'm sure it'll come up in the chats if you could write down the author. Okay. Wayward Lives by Saidiya Hartman. I'd love to hear more about that. Esther Jones, and welcome. Not to spoil it, but in Home, there's a significant part where this group of women have to come together to help a woman heal, and it's a very powerful moment. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler at all. Thank you for I love scenes when women, especially when women lay their hands on each other and just like something magical happens. I'm just like, let's do that thing.
Yep.
Family by California Cooper. Thank you. Great recommendations. I love this.
I'm over here writing down.
Yeah.
I love a good note situation.
You and your notes. This is perfect.
I love a note. It's unreal how many notes I have.
Yeah. So Cabe also read Me, You, and White Supremacy, and it fits Ujima. So Randy Pink is the author of
Girl Like Us. By Us? I don't know what I wrote down here.
Oh, and then she wrote right afterwards. Just scroll down, and Jerry, all your answers are below in the chat. Just trust the chat. Trust the wave. So Girls Like Us. Great. Okay.
Okay. Shouldn't have been writing on that page.
Hello. Welcome, my written voice. And Harambe. And so who else? I missed a few people. So, okay, sorry. Let me just go up again. Hi, Gina. Welcome back. Summer of Everything by Julian Winters. How they all come together to try and save the bookstore. Awesome. Yeah, I love a group saving situation. You know what was
Julian
like?
Winters is great author.
Yeah.
He's so sweet.
I have to read some of their work. Also in the Shadow Shaper series by Danielle Jose Older. The first book has like that kind of moment. Let's all come together and save any kind of like save our bookstore, save our city, save our town, save our world. The Sound of Stars is so much a Ujima story by Alicia Dow.
Yeah, I just got that when you sent me that. I just got it from the library.
Yeah, I would recommend a hybrid if you can, because the audible, the audio, the narration's really good.
Okay, I don't have the physical copy, but I'll just have to audiobook it.
Okay. So what Bree just said. Okay, so I think we're pretty much. Oh, so you were answering, Esther. Wayward Lives and Beautiful Experiences by Saidiya Hartman is where the author tries to fill the gaps in the archives about Black queer women's lives.
Oh.
Dang.
Okay. I'm writing down the author here.
Come through, Esther.
With the Rex.
Okay. So this was great. That's awesome. So we have 20 more minutes together, and I just want to ask you a really open question. When you were thinking about Ujima and the books and Kwanzaa and all of that, was there anything in particular that you felt you wanted to share in the live show apart from the books, or any interesting thoughts that came up for you?
There was a thought that came up to, how do I describe it? I think initially I was like, let's look at it from a historical aspect of like my ancestor in Black pain. And I was like, why did I have to go there? So I had to check myself. I mean, that was more of a reflective thing.
Yeah.
Me trying to like tease that out because I was like, should I say the deep? Should I not say the deep? Should I just kept going back and forth on that? But I ended up choosing it anyway. But I just was in reflection of why I went to Black pain themes.
I mean, I know that a lot of people struggle with and are very tired of Black trauma stories, Black pain stories. I get that. I'm not one of those people. And I'm not sure if that's because I'm not African American. And so when I read African American stories about like that particular branch of the transatlantic slave trade, they're not personal to me in
Mm-hmm.
the same way as when I read stories that might be set in the Caribbean and that branch of the transatlantic slave trade, or that
Mm-hmm.
endpoint, right? So it may be that I'm not as personally impacted by the African American experience as I am other diasporic stories. And
Mm-hmm.
most of what I read more on the African American side just because there's more of that kind of stuff available to me at this moment. So that might be a reason that I'm not fatigued by it. But by the same token, I'm not as fatigued by Caribbean stories of slavery either. But I think that the flip side, like, I mean, I guess for me, like part of my spiritual practice includes endarkenment, and endarkenment is
I
the
remember you talking about that.
yeah, it's the belief that it is through looking into darkness that we see our creative and restorative and transformative potential, and that
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of dark things that are very beautiful and powerful, like the womb, for example, as a dark, powerful place where creativity happens. So, I mean, I I'm I don't mind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's something very restorative and healing about being able to read those stories and then to see what does it call up in me? What do I need to do? It's a reminder for me that, you know, the work isn't done and that I have legacy that I have to continue, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm glad that you mentioned the deep. I'm glad that you mentioned the deep because I don't know how I don't know how we move forward, and I don't know how we talk about literature that is even the stuff that's fluffy and joyful.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from somewhere, right? It's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
necessary for some reason. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I always find myself in reflection a lot.
Yeah.
So it's just something I was thinking of. And another thing is, Promised Land by Barack Obama.
Hmm.
I have a lot of critiques. It's not something I share, but I have a lot of critiques. But I was fortunate to have two fathers in my life. One of them passed away about 7 years ago, and he loved Obama.
Hmm.
Like Obama meant something to him and his generation and like our family. Like it was this representation more than like what he actually did.
Hmm.
So I felt that even though I have critiques, I also don't want to stifle another African American or groups of African Americans ideal of the hope that he represents, right? And he represents that to me too, but in different ways. So I felt like I shouldn't be putting my own shit, I guess is the way to put it, than not talking about what the promised land represents. Because, like, even to my grandmother, even in my family, they're like, that man does no wrong. You know, it's like, but it's just like, I just felt like I had to say that
Yeah, I hear you.
even if I have some things that I'm like, well, you know, so
I listen. Yeah.
mm,
So I will say this. I had the opportunity to listen to Michelle Obama live. Um, and so it was a moment. It was a like a question and answer salon style discussion. in Toronto. And, I appreciated a lot of the things that she did share. However, the respectability politics and the conservatism, like the Black conservatism in the way she was speaking, especially when she was speaking to young girls, like she's like, for any of the young girls in the audience, like there was this soft feminist kind of messaging, but then there was also like this very, very, very conservative, small c conservative, respectability, Black elite kind of messaging. And I was just like, if I had a daughter who was 12, or a non-binary child who's 12 listening to you, I would cover their ears. I'd be like, don't worry about what she said. We'll talk about that when you get in the car. Like it would be right. Like I'd be like, scratch that. Oh, scratch that. Right. There's a lot of stuff that I was just like, eh. And so I think this whole idea of, collective work and responsibility, and in particular, building and maintaining our communities together and solving things together, an essential element of that is holding our leaders accountable, when we are those leaders and when we are holding those leaders up, right? Like, yeah. As an example, a very important example of collective work and responsibility for those who are Kwanzaa practitioners is the reality that Dr. I don't even remember his name, but the originator of Kwanzaa engaged in really atrocious behavior toward Black women. Very, very atrocious, very violent behavior. And so
didn't know that.
Not a lot of people, it's very public. You could just Google it. But part of practicing Kwanzaa involves doing so and recognizing that you have to be mindful and you have to hold leaders accountable, and you have to speak to the origins of things that are very problematic, even while you continue in the practices that they espouse, right? So I'm glad that you raised Barack Obama in this, and that we could talk a little bit about leadership, and also as influencers, right?
Yeah.
You're an influencer. I have the t-shirt. You can't influencer t-shirt. I'm an influencer.
Just a regular situation.
Right. And so like we're all influencers in our own ways and on our own platforms. And so, part of our job as well is to be mindful about the books that we promote, the topics that we choose to talk about, how we critique writers and so on. Like everybody knows that I have feelings about Tomi Adeyemi, and her 2 books. But also I need to be responsible in how I talk about that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a hard thing to do when you put your own biases and your passion into it. It takes time to really formulate what you need to say and how you need to say it in a way that can be heard and received. It's difficult. It's a hard line to teeter on.
Yeah, it sure is. Let's look at some other comments. In the book, it follows how one person's decision rippled and affected their families and other people's lives. Yeah. Certain problems characters had could be from that one unresolved. Yeah, definitely the intergenerational and butterfly effect of the decisions that we make now, for sure. So Randy Pink authored Wayward Children. I think we saw that.
Yeah.
I really wanted to read that book. Hey, Sherri, so you talked about the Akata witch, the Oha Coven. Oh, that is the people? Okay, cool. Sorry, Siri just popped up. I'm not sure. Yes, Akata witch. I have to read Akata Warrior.
I read Akata Warrior. When did I read it? Probably years. I don't know.
Yeah, in Darkenment, I don't know as much about shadow work as I do about in Darkenment. So cool. So Black trauma stories are part of our history and part of our present. So recalling these stories is valid. Also, it's not our only story. We are forever, both and, not either or only. Say
Perfectly said. Yeah, perfectly said.
Tatiana.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people after that were just like, yep, what Tati said. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's inherently a problem to still gravitate to Black trauma stories because it's still the present reality. Yes.
Absolutely.
We have to try to find balance for our own sanity. Also, yes.
Yeah, I think, not I think, I want to be more definitive than that. In my mind,
look at you defining yourself, naming yourself, having your own Kujichagulia moment.
In my mind, I just want to be reflective of my Black experiences and other people's Black experiences. I think in my late teens to early 20s, I was on that sameness bullshit. And I just don't want to continue that toxic ass narrative. So for me, for years, it just was Black pain. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't realize Black love existed until I saw it in literature, because in my personal life, that's was the themes. And I'm like, we are not one-dimensional at all. So it's like, I try to challenge myself in that regard.
Yeah.
It was like,
thank you for that. No, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people loving on Tati, completely understandable.
Tati came with the word, the collection plate. Yeah. My granny would be like, pass the collection plate.
Yes.
Where is it, Bree? She's always, Bree, you didn't call me today, Bree. My granny, I swear I called you. You didn't get my missed call? You're telling a story, Bree.
Yes, Michelle Obama. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I can understand that.
It's okay. You're right on time. Awesome, Saucy. I think for the Obamas to have gotten to their position, they had to be in that space of acceptable Black, where they still appease the Black community as representation, but don't shock the white people.
Oh my God. I've never felt so seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. I have a mental block around Dr. Karenga's name, who's the originator of Kwanzaa, for the very reason. I actually don't pedestalize Dr. Karenga for that reason. Like a lot of people do. I'll just leave it at that.
Wow, there's so much to unpack. My notes is real. The Gemini in me is going to be Googling like a mofo after this.
100%. Yeah. we're in the twilight of our 1 hour together. So I'm just going to show the comments. We can all sort of read them.
Mm-hmm.
Critiques of Henna Wars, I think we're talking about.
Oh, that book right there. That book right there. Oh, man.
I've only seen the plays. I haven't read it.
Oh, I cried.
Yeah.
I cried hard. I mean, it could have been I was emotional and I was in Ukraine. I read a lot of hard books there.
Yeah.
So, but it was a lot. Wow. Yeah. Especially in this human experience.
Yeah.
Especially in this human experience. I don't know what I said was funny, but I'm sure it was.
You're often funny. Okay. Hi, Josh. Yeah. Have you read Fledgling?
No, I'm reading all of this new I decided to read no books. I'm going with the OEB slow read. Woo! I'm going with it.
Fledgling is...
People keep telling me to read that book, and I've been itching to read it. But I said, no, I'm going to wait till the last month. You're wrong for that. Yeah. I think it's like the last month of the OEB reading.
We're doing it in near chronological order.
Yeah.
So it's basically not our fault, but
I'm blaming y'all. No, I'm just kidding.
Still, the blame is yours. But yeah, Fledgling is not one you should read first or soon. Like Fledgling.
Okay.
I think
More.
I would recommend that Fledgling is a story that needs to be appreciated in the context of some of her other series.
Okay.
It's a standalone. Yeah, because I think if people read Fledgling too early, the reaction to it can be like pretty like, what was that? which is gonna be the response anyway. But it's nice that when you have that response, you can be like, oh right, Patternist, oh right, Lilith's Brood, oh right, and all the other ones to kind of like literally fall back on to like you.
Yeah. Do you ever, side note question for you, do you ever notice that you have like the same, is it called like aura? Yeah, aura of when you talk about OEB and Nalo Hopkinson?
No.
It's like similar. Like the way you talk about their novels collectively and how like the order of it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought maybe I should have clarified before I was like, no. Because I feel very differently about them. That's why.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is because like Nalo is from Toronto and Nalo. Okay. So I am going to say this. So Nalo. It's hard for me because I don't know what the world was like for Octavia E. Butler at the time that she was writing. Right? I wasn't living in her life, in her shoes and so on, but I know what Nalo's environment was at when she was writing certain books at certain times, right?
Yeah.
Because during some of the times that she was writing, she was actually living in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there were parts of her books that were more recognizable to me. So I felt seen, and she's queer, right? And Octavia E. Butler did not identify as queer, no matter how much white gay people like to call her queer. She wasn't, as confirmed by like Nisi Shawl and people who were her in real life friends. So she was straight from what we hear, and Nalo's not, and so Nalo was writing from a lived experience. So that's why, in terms of my like feeling seen, it's very different between the two of them. But in terms of reading all of their bodies of all of their writing and just being like, yes, am I possessive around like the order, and do I see a bit of alchemy in terms of how their books speak to each other? I do.
So yeah, so for me, I see that similarity there because I know when I read Skinfolk, you were like, interesting first choice.
Yeah. I'm also a judgmental bitch. This is also how that kind of floats into conversation.
Yeah, you were like, interesting first choice, and I was like, I'm gonna read Midnight Robber next, and you were like, I don't think so. But so I'm waiting on you to give me that recommendation. I'm still waiting, but I was like, I'm gonna vibe with you. I'm gonna vibe with you, boo boo. Let's do it. Let's do whatever you want to do it. That's fine with me.
Yes. Have you read any of her stuff? Yeah, I don't know where.
No, that was the first one, and I was like, I'll do Midnight Robber because of the Tintin story thing, and then you were like, no.
Right.
That's not it for you.
Thank you for letting me like control your Nalo Hopkinson experience.
For me, if you have more knowledge on it, why not? Why not be like, yeah, that ain't it. That ain't it for you.
Yeah. So. I would suggest, I suggest to most people, okay, so to people who, because I know your reading taste to a certain extent, I would say start with Brown Girl in the Ring. Right? Okay. That's where you should start. That's where I think you should start.
Okay.
Nalo herself. So when I interviewed her, I said, what would you recommend people read if they've never read you before? So I asked her that, and her recommendation is start with Falling in Love with Hominids, which is her collection of short stories. And her reasoning for that was because you'll get exposed to my writing style. And then from there, you can decide if you want to read a longer work, right?
Okay.
So that's her recommendation, not in Jerry's.
Yeah. But I thought Skin Folk did that for me. I was like, this is wonderful. Like,
yeah, I think Skin Folk, like, while I do think that I do think a great starting point for you would be Brown Girl in the Ring. Skin Folk, I can see why you're attracted to it. Like, as I know more about the like your attraction to like stuff like root magic and like ancestral stuff and healing and your background and stuff like that. So just hearing you talk about the deep, I can see why you would be attracted to Skin Folk, which would be great. And frankly, I have no right telling you what to read, but since we're here, Brown Girl in the Ring.
Okay, since we're here.
I mean, since we're here. I mean, your problems are my problem, my problems are your problems. So
hey, listen, we discussed it. It's here.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, there's just certain people that I feel like I need your guidance, and I am totally okay with you guiding me. You know, like Deidre from Shade Tree Reads. I'd be like, give me those romances. You know,
yeah for sure. And honestly, I feel like it's only Octavia Butler and Nalo Hopkinson that I actually I'm that directive with. Everybody else, like unless I've read everything, right? And I've read everything that Nalo has written, and I've read almost everything that Octavia Butler has written. And so I feel like I can say those things, but I'm not going to read 2 books and then say start here of an author. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I have some authors like that. I'm like, please don't start with this book. Please don't start with this book.
Because I don't want you to get turned off and then not come back or read one of their earlier works that they don't even like anymore, right? Or before they took a turn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would you start with Anne Rice's Christian stuff? Why don't you start with the vampire stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
anyway. Oh, I just got that book too in the library. I was like looking at it.
Yeah.
It's like something about a vampire, I believe.
Yeah. Our leadership is absolutely in need of critique and critical thought. It's the need to place people in black and white boxes that subtracts from the ability to be critical and dynamic. Totally agree. Totally agree. You're here. You are here, and welcome. I was wondering about
I was wondering too. I was going to ask
other emoji. Is that like the Venus emoji?
Yeah, I was like, do you know something I don't know?
I was like, did you say what?
I was about to say, did you know something I don't know? Like, what's happening here? But
that's funny. Wait for it. Wait for fledgling. See?
Yeah.
Tati saying it to you. Okay, so we're almost finishing up. So the bibliographic history of Oibi's work, yes. Yes, please catch up and join.
Yeah, I'm just gonna finish that book tonight before I get cursed out, you know.
Feel like in this day and age, many people take critiques personally when it shouldn't be. 100%. People can't handle the truth and feel like a critique is hating. I completely agree. You know what? And in terms of friendships, surround yourself with people who can hold space for critique and who, right? And I think
that period, end a discussion.
That is the learning of the decade for me.
Oh, I swear. I felt like I was getting slapped around a little bit, and I was like, you got to really restructure and figure this out.
Yeah. 100%.
And also realizing that people giving you a critique is not a personal attack. Like, they're just not coming for the throat.
Yeah. Unless they are, and in which
they are, but I'm not saying
just like separate that. Like, you know what I mean?
Always the case.
Because I remember Bell Hooks saying that Black women are very good, and this is Bell Hooks as a Black woman talking to Black women, and I think this was in All About Love, and she was talking about how sometimes Black women use the truth as a weapon, right? And so they'll weaponize the truth and call it love, right? Call harsh words love, and justify, right?
Yeah, in New Orleans, I always get told by my family members to love me is to know me after they just spewed some harmful toxic shit. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
To know me is to love me. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. So, there's
Yeah.
so much more. Yeah, it's personal either. Yeah. No one is all good, so there needs to be an okayness with the dynamic nature. Yeah.
True.
Y'all are nerds. Also true. Y'all are nerds, but I'm here for it. And I'm here for it. Because you're a nerd. Also, Caleb, you're a nerd, okay?
Super.
A super nerd. Aren't you like in neuropsychology or some neurobiology, geneticist, astrophysicists or something? So
all of the civicists.
All the civicists.
Creating words.
Okay. Yeah, that's so true, Tati. Okay. So as we descend, as this conversation descends, I just want to, so I have a couple of announcements and some general announcements, a few self-serving ones. Do you have any announcements or things you want to share coming up that you want the people to know?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So on my channel with another YouTuber, Nicole, we'll be reading Percy Jackson. I'm really excited to read Percy Jackson because I love the movies. Ashley, don't come for me in the comments, but people are telling me that the movies are garbage, and I'm like, I need to investigate. So another booktuber going to read all of Percy Jackson and related series. So it's probably going to be like 2 years of reading. So definitely come along. That's the announcement.
Wonderful. And in Cabe's defense, they say, okay, emphasis on the just. I just do computational neuroscience.
Wow. That's how you feel? Just a little computational neuroscience.
Wow,
all the synthesis.
All of them. So, okay, anyway, hashtag throwbacks. Okay, so the movies are okay. There's a lot going on here in the comments. Okay,
I told you.
So, okay, so a number of things. Starting from the Kwanzaa Reflectathon, this was the third of 7 Kwanzaa Reflectathon cozy discussions. Please, all of them are pre-scheduled. You can set reminders for those of you who showed up in the latter half of things. You can set a reminder if you want, if you find that to be helpful, but it's fine whatever time you turn up, because the only thing you'll be missing out is the opportunity to chat, the chat was just on fire today. You can watch the whole thing over and it's totally fine. So there's that. Also enjoy, for those of you who are celebrating Kwanzaa in the traditional sense, enjoy your Kwanzaa your observances. In terms of other things that are happening on Onyx pages, in addition to like the videos, regular videos and stuff, there is the Octavia E. Butler slow read. We are going to be continuing the Patternist series. And one of my lovely co-hosts is Musical Tati, who has been alive in the chats. So definitely I'll be starting on Onyx pages in January. I'll be starting the slow reading all together.
They are so nice, y'all. Please show up.
Thank you. So definitely, if you want to slow read the next book with me, what's the next book, Tati? I forget. But come through and you can schedule all of those as well. So I'll be putting out the schedule in January. And please register for the Octavia E. Butler slow read, because that's how you'll get all of the information. As a plug for like something I'm doing for the first time in my personal life, I'm going to be hosting a vision board workshop on January 16th, 2021. And it is going to be a vision boarding workshop that will be inspired by the work of Octavia E. Butler. So if you've never done a vision board before, but you're curious about it, and you want to do it with a bunch of great people from all over the place, please consider registering. There is a cost. There's an early bird cost of $100 before December 31st. And then between January 1st and January 16th, the cost is $150. So to save some money, you should register in the next few days. And if you've got a lot of money and you want to come and also want to enable others to come, consider purchasing a ticket for someone else. And if you're not in a financial position to purchase a ticket at all, you can send an email to me at onyxpages.booktube@gmail.com. My contact information is in my YouTube about page if you didn't catch that. And then I'll have a waiting list of people who will use up donated tickets. We have a couple of donated tickets that we've already received so far. So you can send your name and then I can let you know if you got one of those tickets.
Okay.
All right.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Also, I think that everyone should buy their books for the OEB Slow Read from Sister Sci-Fi. I buy all my books from Sister Sci-Fi. I think it's important that we support Black-owned businesses, and that's about it.
Yay! So thank you very much for that.
Mhm.
Isis from Sister Sci-Fi is the third host of the Octavia E. Butler Slow Read. And let me just, while we are here, I will put a link to the sorry. That wasn't supposed to happen.
A little bit of music, you know?
There's a little bit of music in there. I was just trying to go to my community page right quick to put in the okay, there it is. And also if you're not currently subscribed.
So as an HR leader, I see myself as a
okay. You say something. I can't do both at once. So you say something.
Okay, how y'all doing?
And ladies, how you doing, brothers? Y'all right?
Exactly. How y'all doing?
And family, you good? So here, okay, so that is I put the registration for the Our Destiny Among the Stars, the Octavia E. Butler Inspired Vision Board Eventbrite platform page. Okay. Are we good? Anything else? We're good?
We're good.
Thanks, everyone. We're going to end the broadcast now. This was beautifully chaotic and wonderful. Bree, thank you very much for being the ray of sunshine that you are all the time. Thanks for being that with me. It was perfect.
Anytime.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. See you tomorrow.
Bye.